Welcome to the First Look seminar. We are 1 day away from tomorrow's Preakness, which we will touch on at the end of the show. We will be looking today at the late pick 5 for Santa Anita tomorrow, Saturday. And Gino, it's kind of hard to believe we're 5 short weeks away from the end of this meet. I know that sounds like a long time away, but it's coming very fast, my friend.
It really is. And we have a few more weeks of those pick'em contests, Chappie, every Saturday, every Sunday, free to enter, pick'em.santanita.com, $500 to the winner. If you're a sports fan and you're someone who's watching this, it means you like to play the races. You will love these contests because they're combinations of both of those: sports, totals, betting lines, props, and then something just as simple as pick the winner of race 4 on Saturday at Santa Anita, or head-to-head matchups too. So a lot of fun. Best way to build a bankroll because it doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't hurt when you lose at all. Pick'em.santanita.com. We'll talk pick 5. And you know what? I think it's probably better that we're talking this pick 5. If we only talked about the Preakness, it'd be a pretty short show. We wouldn't have to go all that long, Skippy, huh?
Very true, Gino. Very true. I'm looking forward to the weekend of racing. Tomorrow, Santa Anita's got a great card. The Preakness I always look forward to, and we'll talk about that later. But they got a great card at Pimlico, and, hopefully we can make some money. We did our work, and hopefully we're right.
Well, let's get it rolling, boys. Then we're starting in race 6. And there's 10 races tomorrow. First post, 1 o'clock Pacific time here at Santa Anita. Gino, we're starting off a mile on the turf, maiden special weight, and Ruby Nell goes long for the first time, the $1.2 million purchase, who's been a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Are you looking that way, or are you looking somewhere else, Gino?
You know what? I actually am. She wouldn't shock me, but I like 2 other horses that I'm definitely going to use in my late pick 5. The inside horse, the number 1, Free and Humble. So if you look at Free and Humble overall, she's raced twice on the turf. Both of the races are pretty good. In her last start, she was coming off a layoff. She had not raced since September of last year, 2022. So it was her first start since September. She shows up on April the 30th. Fine start. I think it's pushed back a little bit. She was about 6 or 7 off. She cuts the corner nicely. She moved up, was right in a photo there, and she ends up finishing a nice 3rd. And now she'll stretch back out. So she'll be more forwardly placed in here. I think it should just set her up very nicely from the inside to be more forwardly placed in here and get a really great trip. So the 1, Free and Humble, definitely on the tickets for me. And on the outside, Annie's Joy, very interesting too. This horse has a big pedigree. Annie's Joy, I'm expecting going a little bit longer. Give this one a shot too. Just sort of looked like the way she ran in her debut. I expect her to be more aggressively handling here. I actually wouldn't be shocked if she's maybe sitting second behind 1 or 2 of the other horses down to the inside. So I like the inside and the outside. 1 and 9 going to be on a lot of tickets for me here.
Yeah, I'm with you. My top pick actually is the 1 as well. I think obviously that horse not only needed the race. I think it was a prep to stretch back out, and that the Free and Humble put up a big number in only her second lifetime start as a 2-year-old, running 3rd to Comanche Country, who was really good back then. And I think with J.J. Hernandez back aboard, that horse is going to run big. Skip, are you leaning towards us, or you towards the expensive purchase, or which way are you heading in the first leg here?
Ruby Nell should love the stretch out, right? And going back to the grass. To me, the horse looks like it's got turfy action. And obviously, I think that 2 turns will be better than sprinting, but at 5-2, I'm going to try to beat her. I didn't really like her last race at all. And, that being said, she's going back to the turf, but I'm going to use a couple bombs in here. I like the one that you guys mentioned, Free and Humble. I'm going to use both Patty Gallagher horses, the 5, Sakura Flavor, and the 6, Rockin' to the Boss. Let's start off with the 6 first. I like the breeding on this, Street Boss. Loves the grass. It will love going the 2 turns. It was off slowly last time and just trailed and never ran a jump, but the jockey never moved on it. Very suspicious to me. Almost like you don't know if it's just a prep or what it is, but I'm going to take a shot. Patty Gallagher does good second time out. He wins 13%. His numbers sprint to route aren't the best, but this horse wants to go long. It doesn't want to sprint. And then I'm going to go to the 5, Sakura Flavor. This horse didn't run bad first time out at Santa Anita. It got beat by Pride of the Nile, that good horse of Doug O'Neill's that's came back and won 3 or 4 more times after that. And last time, it doesn't want to sprint. I think that was a prep also. I mean, they're 2 bombs. They're both 20-1. This horse should, obviously like the 2 turns better than sprinting. It goes back to 2 turns like it did first time out. I'm using those 2. And the other one I'm going to use is the 9, Annie's Joy. This horse is bred top and bottom to go long. It's sibling to that Blackjack Cat that loved going 2 turns and was a good turf horse, won almost 600,000. So I'm going to go 1, 3, just because I got to use a stretch out, 5, 6, and 9 in here.
Yeah, it looks like we're all trying to beat the favorite here, and I'm giving a little bit of a look to the 2 as well, just because Leonard Powell does so well with those shippers in here. So it's kind of looks like all 3 of us are spreading a bit, all trying to beat. Ruby Nell ran so huge the first time out, so maybe it's just back to the turf, right? But
Right.
she's kind of regressed since then. And AG Bullet's a very talented horse, and she was favored that first time out on the grass. So we shall see. Interesting race to start off the pick 5, to say the least. All right, we're going to move on to the second leg. Maiden 20 here, Skipper, bottom of the barrel, maiden claimers, going 6.5 panels. What are you looking at here?
I'm going to go a few in here. Kind of a tough race, like you said, bottom of the barrel claimers are main claimers here. I'm going to use the 1, Twice Fooled. Van Belfort does a good job. He shipped over to Turf Paradise. He did very well over there. Now he's coming back to Santa Anita. This horse goes turf to dirt, route to sprint, which I like to do. I know his numbers doing that aren't real good. I mean, the route to sprint are decent. I'm definitely using the 1. Out of the first timers, I did like the way the 3 Liddell worked back on the 30th. Kind of was inside. The horse came up on the outside and never looked like he was going to let that horse by. Looked game to me and had a little speed, I thought. And Blacker's having a good meet. He's won 3 out of 10.
And Skip, by the way, not to interrupt, and Maldonado was on for that work, by the way, if you noticed, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a telltale sign, Chappie. When they're going out to work these horses, they got to like it, and they know what's under the hood.
Yeah. Right.
King Heat, I thought, was a little interesting. Craig Lewis is having a great meet. This horse isn't really bred for the dirt, but it's been working good on the dirt. The last work was really strange because he was way in front of the 2 workers, and he was soaking wet. It looked terrible. But once those 2 horses passed him, he kind of rebroke again and dug in and finished okay. But the work I liked a lot was on the 27th. I thought that was a good work. I don't know the company it was working against, but I was pretty impressed with that. And I'm going to use the 7. So those are my horses. I might throw in Apple Warrior too, just because they bet it first time out. The favoritism drops down. Sadler, I'm using 1, 3, 7 for sure, and probably add the 4.
Well, at the top of my page, I did a tip sheet. I have 4, 3, 7, 1. So we have the same exact 4 horses, just in a different order. And I did like the work as King Heat and picked that horse 3rd. I was with you on that one. I thought that was very sneaky work. And we're going to get every bit of 12-1 probably on a trainer who's having a heck of a meet, has been in the money all 5 starts thus far. What did you look at there, Gino?
Yeah, I'm on the 3 as well. You look at Blacker's number. They're not good with first time starters. It's because when you have a small barn, it's just sort of harder with 1, you don't get as many, and 2, you don't have as many horses, so you can't really train them as hard in the mornings because you can't afford to lose a horse or 2 or to have one of them hurt. You need them to be racing a little bit more often. You just don't have the numbers. If you have a big barn, you can get a little bit more aggressive with your horses in the morning and fit them.
No doubt.
I think the smaller barns have to let them race into shape a little bit more. So I'm not really concerned with the numbers because this one checks a few boxes for me. Like we said, the workout was good. That April 30th work that you could see on XPTV was very good. Second, the dam 4-time winner, was 4 for 10, was a stakes winner, won her second career start. So she had some class, she had some ability, and she showed precocity. She won early in her career in her second start. She produced 4 siblings. 3 of them are multiple winners. The only one that's not only had 1 race. So for a maiden 20, this horse has a nice little pedigree and showed some ability in the mornings. That's a lot more than you'll normally get for horses at this level, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason why this horse is here is because some things have gone wrong along the way. Otherwise, the horse would be in a maiden 50 or a maiden special weight race. But can they show up in this spot and win 1 race? I think absolutely. I really do think it's a good spot for Liddell. I'll probably be 3-4, who we mentioned. You guys mentioned a little bit, Apple Warrior, who got action for Sadler. You had speed there, so you know this horse should at least be forwardly placed. The other one is the 6, who, if you just toss the turf races, now let's look at the 2 dirt races. They're not as bad, and they're both against better. Like, this horse is not outclassed in this group, and it's not a strong group. And I don't think 6.5 should be an issue for Cupid's Crusader either. So I'm going to go 3, 4, and 6. I think in race number 7.
Yeah, you might have talked me into using the 6 as well there, Skipper. I think we're all spreading once again. Apple Warrior is the one, right, that has speed dropping down, was bet to even money first time out, or 9-8, 6-5. Could be the one that maybe just scoots away, but it looks like kind of a wide open race here. All right, we move on to the 3rd leg, the Ms. Direction, and we all remember Ms. Direction, and this is a terrific race down the hill. I think there's a lot of ways to go in here. You know, I've been kind of waiting for Canoodling to get the 6.5 down the hill.
Yeah.
I think
we thought they were going to get it 2 starts back, and then it was taken off, right? It was rained off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I know the trainer's always been very high on this horse. It's been running against very good company. I think the cutback, Mike Smith jumps aboard, 1-1 for Mike Pipey last weekend. I think Canoodling's going to run well here on the cutback. Another horse. Go ahead.
I was going to say the one that's hard to, or that you just want to make sure to eliminate because it's coming out of that same race last time out, was Freedom Flyer, who just didn't run well off the turf, right? They just took a shot there, but don't be worried because there was an article I was reading too on DRF, and they said, yeah, we took a shot, just doesn't like the dirt, just wants to come back to the turf. So now they're getting back to the turf again. So you could be a little forgiving there. And then Very Scary was the one who sort of has that same profile that we always talk about, right? Those horses who show some route speed, going a little bit longer. Now they get to cut back going 6.5 down the hill. So they've got that natural positional speed, but now it'll give them some fitness and the ability to pass horses. And look at those last 2 races that she comes out of. What's wrong with those? She's facing Graded Stakes Company in back-to-back races, and she just runs exactly like you'd expect. She's forwardly placed. She's in it. And then when the little bit better horses start running late, she just can't quite keep up with them. I think she's in a really good spot here. Very Scary, the number 4. So, yeah, you mentioned the 2, Chappie, Freedom Flyer, Very Scary. It's a good race too. This pick 4 is interesting because, as we've said, like, didn't even mention Big Summer, who's very, very live and logical and has a huge shot in here. So lots of different directions to go. I lean Very Scary slightly over a couple others I'll use.
Yeah, my top 3 were 2, 4, 3, which is the 3 you mentioned. What's funny thing about Very Scary as well is Very Scary won by 6 at Turf Paradise, but since that race they took the blinkers off. And Very Scary's actually gotten better since the blinkers have come off the last 4 races, if you take out that dirt race. And that's another one. We always talk about those speed horses going long, cutting back down the hill. It seems to hit them right between the eyes, Skip.
Well, and blinkers, real quick, not to interrupt, but for blinkers too, blinkers aren't always like, we sometimes just assume blinkers means everyone's just going to be so much faster. And for some, it sort of has a different effect, right? We're all different humans. They're all different horses. So for some of them, it gives them too much focus. Sometimes it keys them up too much where they just need to take them off, and then they can relax if they've already got speed, and they can, take a breather a little bit more. So didn't mean to interrupt you, Skippy, but I thought that was a good point, because you could see it with a horse like this. It's not always linear, right? These are animals. They're not machines or robots like we're putting in. Like, you got to remember that everything is trial and error when they're working it out sometimes.
And it's interesting for a horse like that wins by 6, but they notice something and take them off.
Yep.
Yes.
And she's gotten better since. So, yeah. Skipper.
And I'm always a big fan of blinkers off. That shows me, I love that move. Blinkers off, the horse, get him to settle a little bit more. But Gino, I'm glad you brought that up. Sometimes it's not always just to get him to go to the lead or show more speed. It's to kind of get them focused because they're young or whatever. They're starting to wonder and looking at the crowd, whatever. But I'm a big believer. I love when I see a horse getting blinkers off. That means, I think as a trainer, like that horse is doing good. It's starting to calm down. It's getting,
they don't need them.
Right.
Almost.
They don't need them.
Right.
Exactly. So I like the 2 also. I like Very Scary. Those are my top 2. The one that you didn't mention that I'm going to bring up is the 1 Honey Pants. This horse shipping in from back east. Phil D'Amato takes it. He does really good with all his horses that he gets. Christophe Clement trained this horse. This horse is definitely a sprinter. The only thing that I don't like about it doesn't seem like it's a big win machine. 17 starts, 3 wins, 7 seconds. I usually don't like that, but I'm going to put the 1 on my ticket. And one other one that I'm going to bring up that you brought up, Big Summer. Big Summer loves the downhill. I know it's a Calbred going against Open, but last time it ran against Open and ran really, really good against Elm Drive. I know it wasn't on the grass, but Big Summer's got a big shot. And one other one I'm going to think about using is outside horse, 1 Silk Stocking. I love the post position draw way outside there. It's get that short little to the first turn there because they make that right-hand turn. I think the outside post always favors the downhill turf course, as you guys do too. And I think at a price, and that kid's riding good, and O'Neill, I might throw in 1 Silk Stocking just for a bomb also.
In regards, and then we'll move on to Honey Pants, the one I was hoping there would be an XBTV work on there because it's interesting to see who D'Amato pairs him up with. And he always works them on the training track, which seems to translate a little bit more towards turf. But there was nothing we could see because, right. You can always tell who he works them with and then how they work. You get a little bit of an inside look to what he thinks they're doing at the time. But so there's a little bit of a guessing game. You're right on the 1 horse there. All right, let's move on to race 9 there. $20,000 claimers going 6 furlongs. What are you looking at, Gino?
This is a race where I had a tough time getting outside the box. Chappie, how do we get a feel for a horse who just is coming out of a couple 2 furlong races? Like, Chappie, you can run 2 furlongs. Like, I actually think I can get you out to run 2 furlongs. I really do. So I don't know how I can really get a gauge for that going 6 furlongs at Santa Anita. Just thought that was funny and something worth mentioning. I had a hard time getting around, I think, 2 of the obvious horses in here, which were Joker Boy and Strike That. I got to just approach how I want to play the pick 5 with those 2, but they're probably the 2 shortest prices in here. I had a tough time. I couldn't really get too many others in here. I really did think that those 2 kind of were above, like shoulders above for me. So I wish I could be a little bit more creative in this field, but just a small field. And the other 4, I tried getting to them, but I really couldn't. So Chalk City for me in the 9th with those 2.
The only other one I looked at was maybe the 1 Who's Candy, who's dropping and hasn't ran on dirt before, right? And Naps actually had a little bit better of a meet than the numbers show. He's had a lot of bad luck, including a Gino horse that he gave out last week. That the horse
came out that just.
I mean, 0 chance. You should have lost that race. I mean, that was.
It's like, what? A horse that's got nothing to do with anything just sort of comes out. It's like, what? This horse is tired. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Inventing
which would have added to your pick. And I think the horse was 9-1 or 8-1. And it would have added a win to Steve Knapp. But Skipper, are you around the 2 favorites or you see anything we don't here?
I'm on the 2 favorites also. The only other one that I'm thinking about adding is the 2, Economical. O'Neill claims this horse. This horse just ran on the 14th. It's coming back in less than a week. Route to sprint. And the reason why, one of the owners, Michael Bello, he's had some great luck in this game. He owned Megahertz and a few others, but Megahertz was his best one. And boy, I miss her. She was just a little thing, but she'd be dead last and just rolling by on the grass and all those big races. But he's got very good luck, Michael Bello. So I might just add the 2 just dropping down, and O'Neill, I mean, bringing it back real quick off the claim. The horse must be doing well, right?
Yeah.
So that would be the only other one. I like the 6 on top. The 3 would probably be my second choice, and I might add the 2 also.
And then, I mean, just to bring up we talked about every horse now because we talked about the 2 furlong horse. Self-taught isn't the worst horse in the world. The horse just can't break,
and he just needs help up front. Right,
Yeah.
He just needs some pace to run at, and I don't
usually
know.
Breaks slowly and just has so much to do.
He needs a bigger field, honestly.
Yeah,
but if 2 furlong Chappie can set the pace and make things go crazy over here, then maybe it gets things going.
And then time to zoom. That sounds perfect.
Source is going to win for sure.
Horse.
I know.
All right, we move on to the final leg, Skipper, and this is a mile on the turf starter allowance. I got to admit, to me, this was a complete scramble.
Which is great.
Dying to hear what you guys think. Okay,
I'm singling a horse
because of
what you said. If it is close to where like 7 Charms, Durante, Lottery Pick, 911 Turbo, and Oncoming, if those horses are all similar prices or within a little bit, I hope that's the case because I think 7 Charms is a standout in this group against this field. Absolutely. Gets the ultimate equipment change. We've liked this horse for a while, and we played this horse in way tougher spots. So this is a 50 starter. The way you get qualified for this race is if you started for 50 or less. Look at 7 Charms. There's been 2 times where this horse was in a maiden 50 that would have been eligible. One of those times was one of those trouble trips that we played. And then the next time was when he aired at the maiden 50 level and he crushed breaking his maiden. And then he stepped up when they put him back at this level again on April the 3rd in a 50 starter. He was a really good second that day in his first start off of a long layoff. I think with the first time gelding here, I think he's the horse to beat in this spot. I don't think he's shown more speed recently than he used to, right? It felt like he used to be more of a deeper closer. I just think his last few races, he's been in too tough. So look at the races he comes out of. Gold Phoenix is now a grade 1 winner. He won the Kilroe. So they look like, again, those tough allowance races, second level allowance races, twice with Gold Phoenix in there. Cash Equity is a horse who was in against Graded Stakes Company. Red King is a Graded Stakes winner. So those races are so much tougher than this race. Just take every other individual horse and look at the races that they've been exiting and compare them to the races that 7 Charms exits. I'm going to do it again, Chappie. I'm going to single this horse on the back end and just be a glutton for punishment. So I got
a feeling Skip is going along with you. I wanted to get to this horse, by the way. I really did. But off the layoff, I watched the one work, which means nothing because it's a dirt work for a turf horse, and these old pros know what they're doing. I didn't love it. I picked the horse second, but I could have been just drawing straws. Skip, is that your single as well?
It is. Gino, I'm glad Gino went first because he said everything I wanted to say and probably more and said it a lot better than I could say it. So
okay. Well, you look better than I do, so we'll trade that off.
I love the 2 here. I love the 2. That's why I'm going a little bit deeper early. The class of the race, the all-time equipment change, first-time gelding, like Gino said. Michael McCarthy trains it. This horse runs well fresh. And I think I like those works. I put good work on the 14th and the 30th. I know the time is 104 and 2, but I just liked it. Wasn't being asked. It just had a good stride, and it's a dirt horse working on the grass. You could see this horse, with that turfy action. I liked both of those works. I don't care about the times. 7 Charms is my single. Let's go, Gino.
It had nothing to do with the times. One of them I just didn't like visually, and I get it. A turf horse, dirt work. It doesn't. I agree. This horse could jog. I just maybe it's the bad taste in my mouth because we bet this horse too many times that.
I bet you like the work on the 30th when it was working in company.
I think you're still a little tired from the 2 furlongs, Chappie.
Yeah, it was definitely. You know what's funny? I didn't write it down which one it was, and I always do. I wrote it on the tip sheet I did. It was in company, the work. I know that for a fact. But I do like the track change, by the way. I love Ramon Bass's getting on. Laurent Giroux is terrific, but Giroux did not ride well here whatsoever. I think that's a big plus.
And just prior to that, again, Espinosa only has a couple wins this year also, right? So just think about from an aggressive standpoint, you had someone who was struggling and they didn't get off well. I think this horse is going to get a more aggressive ride in here at this level, just sort of ridden sometimes like how horses are ridden when you think they're in a good spot to win. Get them a little bit closer, even if they have to sit, you have to tip them out a little wide early or something like that. Just make sure they're in the race. And again, we'll come closing for a troubled second.
I'm passing this race, so I'm going to root for you guys like nobody's business. So,
and it's funny because I on my notes I put big jock switch because Espinosa hasn't been riding the best, and Giroux he did whatever he wins all the races for Brad Cox back there, but I don't have luck with the guy, and he did not ride
well in Southern California.
He did not, and big jock switch. I'm all over it. The one thing, like, okay, a mile, this horse wants to go longer, probably. It does very well going longer, but this horse could win at a mile. And like Gino said, it's been showing more speed lately. I love Seven Charms. Seven Charms is my best bet tomorrow.
Wow.
At Santa Anita.
Okay. I'm going to go with you guys. I didn't see the ball in this race at all. It wasn't like I picked the horse second, but I didn't even know, to be honest with you, I think I picked the Pete Urton horse on top just because Pete Urton is winning every race on the planet, lottery pick, who won on turf, ran second on turf, one on Tapeta, and one on dirt the last 3 races. That horse could run on like gravel, and Pete Urton seems to win every race possible. So I just picked because it was kind of none of the above for me because I was trying to figure out a way. I think that clearly your horse is clearly the one to beat. That's it. I'm rooting for you guys, and I'm passing the race. All right, let's take a quick look at the Preakness tomorrow, which goes as race 13 on the card at Pimlico. Gino, we have a late scratch there of First Mission, so might muddle the picture as far as the pace is concerned. Does National Treasure get a lead? Does Coffee with Chris get enough pressure, or is Mage just too good for this field?
Well, how about right now too? Like looking at the betting, and remember it's just early today, so I think there was 500,000 in the pool. Mage is 9-5, National Treasure's 3-1, Blazing Sevens 9-2. Red Route 1 6-1, Perform 7-1, Chase the Chaos 7-1, Coffee with Chris 8-1. So nobody's higher than 8-1. Mage is 9-5 with just a few bucks in the pools from Friday. This is the least amount of money I'm going to ever have bet on a Preakness that I can remember, just individually on this race. If you're going to play some early races and pick 4s and pick 5s, I was going to single First Mission. So now everything's thrown out of whack. We've talked about National Treasure a bit, and I've thought he would be a horse that would be better going longer. So in a spot like this, what's concerning is just that, can he win this race? Yeah, I really do think he's the second most likely winner of this race. He's going to be so much shorter than what he should be or what you would want for him to win this race. Like you would want 6-8-1 for this type of horse. At least he's going to be 2-1. Like right in that range, the strong second choice now. It's just so hard to find any value in this race. Like both the 1 and the 7, National Treasure and Blazing Sevens, have they really improved since they were 3-year-olds? Like, were they better at 2 and have just not gotten better? But does that even matter in this field? Because it's only a field of 7 now. And if you take Mage out and you put him above everybody else, well, then these two are still probably better than the rest of who they're facing. The only way I could find something to play is just I trust Red Route 1 in that I know what he's going to do. He's going to drop back. He's going to make one late run. He'll pass half the field. Do they go fast enough to where he could run second or third? Maybe. That's maybe the way I would play it if you were looking to play it. I would probably play Mage and Red Route 1, and I'd hook those two up and maybe try to chuck out like the second and third choices and play Exactas that way. If Mage comes back and regresses from a few weeks ago, he can probably still win. Like if he just comes back and runs what he did in the Florida Derby and not even where he stepped up in the Derby. So yeah, it's tough in this small field for me to find some value, because I had 3 or 4 horses who I just kind of was immediately tossing.
I was kind of with you in the first mission camp, so that kind of ruins me. I thought that horse had a big shot. The one race, and I don't know if this horse is good enough. Did you guys get to see the replay of Perform the last time in the Tessio? That was one of the most incredible, athletic, amazing races I've ever seen. I don't know if this horse is good enough. And this is the one that got supplemented in. Is that correct? Right?
The only thing that worries me is just when there's that blanket finish like that sometimes, you never know, and the figures are low, but they took a shot because it's not the strongest race in the world. And it does seem like the last 2 races where they've taken this horse back and sat and then timed it and made one run, that's been better.
But he made 6 runs because he got
his trip. If you watch his trip visually, it was
unbelievable.
It was great. Now we don't know what he was beating, and it didn't. Right. Again, the figures and stuff don't come back monster, and what kind of pace is he going to get? Right. If they choose those tactics again, and if we're saying sitting towards the back of the pack has worked well for him, is that going to work well for him in this race?
Skipper, your thoughts anywhere?
Like Gino said, it's not the best Pimlico, Preakness race, 7 horses. But, I don't think they could beat Mage. I mean, that was very impressive from the get-go. Breaking his mane January 28th, showing speed, by the way. So this horse does have speed, or, has some tactical speed. One easy. The next race in the Fountain of Youth was wide the whole way, kind of chucked that race out, lost all the ground. Then in the Florida Derby, off slow, circled the field, probably moved too soon, probably should have won that race. Forte won, but I thought Mage might have been best in there.
I agree 100%. Mage was better.
And then last time, I mean, and I've been watching this horse all week. Pictures, working, schooling. This horse looks like he's ready to go again. I mean, he looks great to me. He looks like $1 million. If I had to pick another one, or if I add another one, which I probably won't, it will be Perform. Just because I like that they finally maybe learned something. They learned to take hold of this horse. We don't know what it's beating, but it's been winning impressively. Take hold, and this horse makes a run. Those last 2 were very impressive. The last one with all that trouble. And at 15-1, I know it's not 15-1. But if I did add another horse, it would be Perform. But more than likely, I'm singling Mage on everything.
Yeah, sometimes we try to get too creative, right? Because Mage is going to be 3 to 5 and should be, right? Maybe you just take the money and you use it in pick 5s and single. And
right. And let's be serious. I mean, not gambling wise, but as horse racing fans, we want Mage to win. That way we've got a shot for a Triple Crown winner going into the Belmont. The crowd's going to be huge. You're going to get all these other horses that have skipped the Preakness waiting for the Belmont, but all that, just cheering and everything just for the Triple Crown winner, all that, the crowd, it'll be great. Just the leading up to that race. So
they added pick 5s. Like, I don't know if you guys saw all over the card. I think there's 5 there. I think there's 5 of them tomorrow. They had, I think 12 total. between the 2 days. And all of them are the 12% takeout pick fives. All of them are low takeout. So they wanted to give you some added incentive to play a lot of the races throughout the card. And I'll even give you one little swing, a horse that we actually know a little bit that's going to be running in race number 10. And this will be kind of a little teaser for the radio show tomorrow that Chappie and Skippy host. And I'm a guest on each and every week. It's the 10th race on the undercard. It's the Jim McKay Turf Sprint. I'm a little bit worried about the post, but I'm going way to the outside with Beer Can Man. Beer Can Man is a horse who we've seen out here in Southern California who runs for D'Amato. And in his last start, he went over to Keeneland. He got bet way too hard off that long layoff. And when you watch the race back, he looks exactly like how a horse runs when they need the race off of a long layoff. He was sort of looming up. He was in contention. And then late, he was trying. He just didn't have the same like little bit of fitness as some of the others did. And he has some versatility. He can use some speed from the outside to get position and then sit. He kind of has multiple gears when you watch him, which I like for these turf sprinters. You want horses that are kind of push button, that don't necessarily have to come from way out of it, but they can sit, move, and then move again. I think that's Beer Can Man. He's 8-1 on the morning line, and he starts, or he's right in the middle of one of those pick fives. I think the pick five goes 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's in the second leg.
I think we all needed him the last time, although he got way over bet. Go ahead, Skip.
Yeah.
You know, that same race, I needed Smokin' Jay that day. I gave it out on the radio, and I like this horse right back. I think it regressed off that March 4th win. It didn't get the best of rides last time. Gaffleone, I don't know. I wasn't real happy with the ride. We'll just say that. But I think if that horse bounces back to March 4th with the speed in there, and this horse has tactical speed or could win from behind, I like Smokin' Jay right back in there, and hopefully Gaffleone will give it a better ride this time.
All right, one last topic, and we're going to go off topic just for a second. We'll give it 2 minutes, and we'll end the show because we're talking about nobody coming back in the Preakness. Two different schools of thought. Do you spread out the Triple Crown races? A lot of people are talking about that now because, or do you incentivize people to go from the Derby to the Preakness? Maybe added money involved, because now more and more horses are skipping that second leg. I mean, look, we have one horse going from the Derby, and traditionalists don't want to put time between those races.
No,
I think it's a good idea to put time between. Skip clearly does it because he's shaking his head. Skip.
No, I don't think so. You can't listen. The history, the Triple Crown winners, let's not change it. I know it's asking awful lot of these 3-year-olds running 3 times in 5 weeks. It's a lot, but I don't know. I don't think we could change it. I think we got to keep it the way it is and maybe get some more incentives so these horses will run from the Derby to the Preakness. And I don't like change. So no.
Yeah,
I would have thought about change real quick, Gino, and you can respond to this. Is I think tradition I get, we need change right now in different ways. So anything to keep horses running longer and or people from the outside getting more involved, because now that no one's going to the Derby, the outside public could care less about tomorrow unless Mage wins and maybe there's a Triple Crown on the line.
Yeah, and it's the Triple Crown's been changed a bunch of times. It's not always been the same. It's only been the same, I think, for about 50 years. Before that, there was different distances. There were different times in between races. So it's not been the same from the first time ever. It's had many different changes to it. A few years ago, we had a Triple Crown in a pandemic that was completely different, and we kind of all forget about it, right?
That's right. I forgot about that.
It didn't ruin the sport. That's what it comes down to right now. I think we kept saying over and over, because there was no Triple Crown winner for a while, and in our lifetime, right? That was such a feat for people like us who grew up watching how many horses try to get that third one or get 2 out of the 3. So we feel like it's such a big deal. The problem is, like we said, I don't think the incentives would do it. Like, if you don't win the Derby, why are you running back anymore?
Right.
Just honestly, why? Why wouldn't you just wait till the Belmont in 5 weeks? And then you have the Belmont, the Jim Dandy, the Travers, the Haskell, the Pennsylvania Derby, and then you step up against Older. You have all those other races after that are all big money races. And no other time are you going to run your horse back in 2 weeks. No other time ever. I don't even think it's something that would like hurt horses or push them, because I think a lot of these horses could do it, but the trainers just won't do it. The owners just won't do it. And if they're not going to do it over and over, I don't think moving forward, like I don't know. Is it going to be an asterisk for anyone that wins the Triple Crown? Sure. But what, in the nicest way possible, who cares? Right? Like, right.
Yeah.
If we have bigger Preakness fields, and we get the best 3-year-olds in all 3 of the races, the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, wouldn't that be maybe equally as hard of a Triple Crown than what this one is? Because if Mage wins the Preakness, how hard was that Preakness, right?
It's almost a free pass, right?
Compared to the Derby and the Belmont.
Right.
5 years ago, I would have said the same exact. I would have said, no way, tradition. But I've looked at it. We've already had a couple of recent Triple Crown winners, right? Like, I don't know how much it changed, good or bad. Like, it was great. It was awesome to see. But I do
Food
think
for thought, right?
Yeah.
Well, all we care about is getting some winners tomorrow. So let's get some winners home. Join us tomorrow morning on the Morning Line Sports Show as well. We'll all be giving our picks out on AM 830. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. We will talk again tomorrow. And again, by the way, next weekend, Memorial Day weekend, huge weekend racing here. So I believe we are going to have maybe 2 shows, which I'm just bringing up to you guys right now. But we might go Thursday night for Saturday and Friday night for Sunday or something like that.
Let's do it.
Well, to be continued, but we're going to do something like that. So, all right. Thanks, gentlemen. Good luck.
Good luck.
See you guys. Good luck.